And one of the things that I saw when I was in Rome, we had this art history teacher that was sort of relentless, and she just loved what she did. And she took us to, in Venice, after hours, she took us to the Church of San Zaccaria, and there's a painting by Bellini in there that was originally made to mimic the church, and later it was taken away by Napoleon and it's been put back. So if you're in Venice, you should definitely check this place out. But it's a painting of Madonna and Child and 4 saints, and the thing that was amazing to me about that painting is that I'm going to see if I can find something that might, like something like this, actually be a little bit more telling about it. But what I loved about the painting was that no one was looking, or there was no narrative. The painting was called a sacred conversation painting, and it seemed to me like one of the most important things that I'd ever seen, because there was no narrative like a crucifixion or a deposition, and it didn't tell a story. What it was a complete sense of mood. It seemed like it was a scene of life after death, because each of the saints were from different eras and spoke different languages, but they were all put in this room with the baby Jesus and the Madonna, and you realized also when you look at the painting that these people were right before the instant. If this is heaven or this is purgatory or wherever they are, standing around, that they were in excruciating pain just before they were in this scene. And there's this incredible sense of peace in this painting that I'm describing. I'm sorry I don't have a reproduction of it, but it is, one of the things about it is that the fact that there's this kind of disconnect between images. And then there's another painting in Venice, which is probably even more famous and come to you as The Tempest, by, my God, 2 glasses of wine, now I'm starting to forget. Giorgione, thank you. One time I was teaching, I couldn't remember Matisse's name. I was like, yeah, really famous, begins with an M. Anyway, but so Giorgione's Tempest is the same thing, where you have the baby being suckled by this nude woman, and there is a guard or some sort of Venetian-looking man, and there's a storm coming, and you can't really put together why any of them are there or what's the point of it. Let's go forward.
Yeah, but I want to make a comment about this, and we can go forward.
Okay.
You notice how on the left is soft, very infused edges because it's shown the light, whereas on the right is strongly delineated to the point where it almost appears like a cutout. These are kind of things that make me excited about Lisa's work. Like the way the pelvis comes out at a sharp angle, almost like a vase, so that came forward. So it go against the tonal, the volume of the form. And same thing can be said about that interval between her right leg. Sorry, Lisa, I have to point that out.
Well, you asked about the stockings, and because today I was deciding to put a striped stocking into a painting yet again. And I sort of hit upon it because for everything I would probably decide to do, I decide to do because there's some sort of art historical reason for it, and then some sort of pop reason for it, or some sort of personal reason. And in this source material that I'll come across, they often will use striped stockings, in the kind of soft core kind of stuff you find on the internet or here or there. It's a kind of a thing. But then also I realized, like in Dr. Seuss, there's, that sort of striped cat in the hat thing, and there's this kind of funny use of the sort of striping. And then also, the witch in The Wizard of Oz, when the house falls on her and they're like, she's got these funny, before she disappears, got these funny striped socks. And it's just sort of like, I guess I sort of will say that I'll sort of sense that there's all these things that will connect. and, you know, obviously, like, there's just different places that these things will kind of pop up and come together. So, you know, it just, you know, and also it just ultimately feels right. You know, it's like 90% of what I do during the day when I'm painting is putting something in and taking it out.
Mm-hmm.
I put it in, take it out, put it in, take it out, put it in, take it out.
Mm-hmm.
And the small paintings, you know, that can happen a lot, but it's, you know, maybe I'll do like 2 or 3 versions rather than sort of taking this particular small painting. I labored over quite a bit, and it was kind of an interesting painting for me because you can see that it's 2 small canvases, and I think they're about this big. And the one on the left, I paint it and repaint it and repaint it and repaint it. And it's funny because I took little iPhone pictures of them as it was going. And lately I've come across them and I'm like, that looked pretty good. What'd you paint over that for? But there were things there was something that I needed to get to. And in that painting, it was the pairing of that dress that's made up of flicks of paint, you know, against the stripe. So it's like the dot versus against the stripe. Mm-hmm. And when I sort of was working on that paint, I mean, it's like I would say that I don't tend to labor over the small ones, but that one on the left, I like just kept scraping down and starting over, scraping down. At one time there was a baby between the legs of the woman whose legs are spread, which is how her legs got like that. And there's something about that gesture that's very vulgar, which I like. I sort of like vulgarity in painting because it kind of keeps it less, it's very important, like when Phong said earlier, the idea of the top-bottom thing. It's that I've had, in order for me to work, I can't feel, I mean, you know, the incredible pressure and awareness of how incredibly much any of us sucks. You know, the best painter alive today is so horrible compared to, you know, in terms of skill or whatever. So that's like, you have to set that aside. You have to put that completely out of your mind, and you just have to take it on in some sort of other term. You have to create new terms. And so the sort of sense of, when I was at Yale, I didn't include the person that I had been prior to being an artist. I mean, I remember the day that I went into art school, I walked into art school and met my first artist. I've been thinking about it recently because of a different conversation I had with my mother. Was really like a major turning point in my life. Like, I love artists. You know, it's like, it's like I can't believe that, you know, I'd been on this submarine for years as a child without knowing any. And that's the thing, is that, you know, you go to museums and you look at these paintings, and it's the closest you get is to have these sort of seances with artists that you are looking at and saying, like, you know, like, how do I get there? How do I get there? But to meet other living, breathing artists, and then all of us are having this problem of how do we make something that is worth it, you know, worth bothering to, you know, like all this paint and canvas and time and energy. Like, I mean, you know, it's an amusing way to spend your time, but what makes it worthwhile, you know, became a question. And when I was at Yale, I was like, you know, the heavy burden of history was laid, I took it on probably a lot more than most people. But, you know, the way out of it for me was to just literally say, fuck it. And not just anything, but seriously, fuck it. Mm-hmm. Those words and the vulgarity of that, and that freed me. And so that, in a sense, like, gestures like that end up in the paintings are necessary for my ability to think and breathe and access. I mean, I think there's something about being able to access your highest intelligence at any given time, and you frame a state of mind is extremely important, and this is for the students and other painters. I wouldn't tell other painters how to do it, but for students who are still searching, I think you have to really, really figure out a frame of mind that you make your best art in. And just really trust that, even if everyone tells you that it's the wrong way to go.